All right, guys, welcome to the next episode of the YVR REMO show. I'm your host, Alex McFadden. Today, we are taking a little bit of a different angle. We are taking a trip around Canada. Now, today we're starting off with a series, which I'm very excited to present to you. We'll be doing this over the course of the remainder of the year. We're going to start really close to home here today. We're going to start over on Vancouver Island with a real estate agent who I've got to know over the course of the last year or two who is making big moves in the island. His name is Matt Baynton. Now, Matt is a local real estate agent. He started in Vancouver, BC, and made his move over to Nanaimo. He currently works with the Sims Real Estate Group, a team that actually is doing over 200 transactions a year. Apparently, so far this year, they've already done 200 halfway through 2020. So they're doing big things. Now, Matt typically works with a variety of clientele, everything from retirees to investors to families. And so he really has a good understanding and grasp of what he's seeing. And lately, Matt's been mentioning he's been seeing a lot of people migrating from the big cities, whether it's Victoria or Vancouver, to some of the smaller cities and towns like Nanaimo and surrounding areas. So Matt's going to give us his perspective on what he's seeing, what types of investment opportunities could be available over there, and if it makes sense for you to consider anything in Nanaimo. Guys, I hope you love this episode with Matt Baynton. He did a fantastic job. Make sure to reach out to him and let him know if you have any questions about that area of the island. If you guys love the show, make sure to subscribe, hit the like button, tell a friend. Please send us a message and let us know what cities that you want us to spotlight going forward. Enjoy the show. Talk soon. What's up, guys? You are listening to the YVR REMO show, where we talk all things Vancouver real estate and mortgages, take boring topics and make them interesting. Make sure to stay tuned to listen to everything you need to know how to put cash back in your pocket, create wealth in real estate, and simplify the complicated. Matt Baynton from Nanaimo. So happy to have you join me this morning. How are you today, buddy? Nice and early.
I'm pretty good. Yeah, it's a bit early for me, but I've been up for a few hours. That's kind of my normal schedule. So,
yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, you guys are over there selling hundreds of homes right now, and we're in the middle of July market. I appreciate you joining me bright and early, buddy.
Yeah, no problem. Happy to be on here and speak to you about the market here.
Absolutely. So this is part of a series that we're working on right now where we're spotlighting different cities around the province that we're seeing people migrate to, invest in, and maybe just don't get a lot of attention. And Matt, you're someone that I've got to know over the past while and had the experience of working together with and just seeing your work ethic firsthand. So I thought you'd be a great guy to come on today and talk a little bit about what's actually happening in Nanaimo and why people should actually pay attention to a city that I think from the mainland often gets forgotten. I mean, you actually started your real estate career in Vancouver, is that right?
I did, yes. I started there about just under 5 years ago, and I spent my first year and a half of my career there selling real estate, and we had our first child, so I decided it was time to move to the island because there's a much better cost of living. We're actually able to live in a detached single-family home here. Whereas in Vancouver, we would still be living in probably a 2-bedroom condo or something along those lines.
Yeah, no doubt. So, I mean, let's get right into it then. So, you know, one of the interesting things about the island right now, and I mean, right now we're sitting here on July 16th, and we're post-COVID, at least the worst of it, if you will. We're in, I think, phase 3 in the lower mainland. And we're starting to see people like July has been one of the most active months we've had in years in terms of real estate. So we're really starting to see things change. And, you know, what you just said there about making a move over to the island for a different life or to have room and so forth. In my experience and in our conversations recently, this has been just a huge boon to your town lately, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been quite a busy market over here. We have quite a few different people moving over here from all different parts of the country. We have young families moving over from Vancouver, quite a few, just for a better cost of living. We have a whole different segment of the market where people are retirees that are looking to retire on Vancouver Island from right across the country, all the way across. And that's always been their plan their whole life to move here. So we have a big market for that as well here. And yeah, we also are having a little bit better of an investor market these days too. So there's quite a bit of opportunity here.
Yeah, and so again, kind of going back to the beginning of this, you made the move about 4 years ago, I suppose, from Vancouver over to Nanaimo. And I have to ask, so you've got Nanaimo, you've got Victoria, you've got other places on the island. What drew you to that city, and why did you set up shop there?
Well, I actually do have some family that's lived here my entire life. So my grandparents lived in a community called, well, they still live in a community called the Bay, which is just north of Nanaimo, which is basically like a seaside community. It's a really nice place. They actually owned a waterfront home there. So I spent tons of my childhood there growing up on the ocean and always loved this area because of that reason. But to be fully honest with you, when we were deciding to make the move, we actually decided to drive up here and spend a whole week on the island. And we actually traveled everywhere from Courtenay Comox all the way to Victoria and spent a couple nights in each area. And after spending time in Nanaimo, we just realized it's a pretty versatile town. There's so much to do here. There's a lot of different areas we really like. And we just decided this would be best for us, and having family close didn't hurt either. So that kind of made us make the jump here. Yeah.
So, you mentioned about the idea of buying a single family home for less than a condo in Vancouver. Today, just to kind of talk about numbers and where things are at right now, like if someone's to move over, they want to buy a single family home with a lot, as far as I know, a decent sized lot on your end. What is someone looking to pay for that type of property right now? Your average, if you will.
Yeah. So in Nanaimo, the single family benchmark here is 581. That's for June of 2020. And that's with the average of, days on market of about 29 days to sell. So that market compared to 2019 in the same month, it's pretty flat this year, probably based on COVID a little bit. But typically we do see like quite a consistent appreciation, as well as strong hold on the values. So that's for a single family detached. And then if you move into something like a condo, you would be looking, the average benchmark price June 2020 was $314,000. That's actually down 6% from last year. So I find like the single family detached homes seem to be, where everybody's buying right now, very active. Especially since COVID's hit, we're seeing a lot of people move to larger properties. That segment of the market is very busy. Anything that's over a quarter acre and up is very active and in multiple offers right now. So it's been quite interesting.
That makes a lot of sense. And I mean, we were talking earlier about this because we also have clients who look to invest in real estate over there. And I think, to be clear, whenever we're talking about real estate investing, it comes in different forms. Some people are buying multifamily properties, some people are buying commercials, some people quite literally are buying a property that they're going to invest in, to move into, or live in the long term. A trend that we also talked about, had seen, is because the price of a single family detached home is, say $550,000 to $580,000, based on a 20% down payment, your mortgage payment is less than $1,800 right now for someone. And you were mentioning that a lot of these properties have suites and potential coach house revenue. So are you seeing people take advantage of this and essentially live for, well, I don't want to say free, but pretty darn close to it at this point? Is that something that you're seeing people do?
Yeah, we see quite a bit of that here. I would say like your average single family home, I would say a good percentage of them, probably 50% and up of them, do have suites here in Nanaimo. So that definitely is a nice option to have. So basically here you'd be getting anywhere from upstairs, you'd probably be getting anywhere from $1,800 to all the way up to $3,000, depending on the area upstairs. And then for a lower suite, you're probably getting anywhere from $1,200 to $1,500 per month. So great potential for them to cash flow.
So are you seeing, just based on that feedback right away, so $1,800 and $1,200, so we're looking at $3,000 for a detached home in that's in that 600,000 and under type frame, first of all?
I would say there's a big range because it really does depend on the area here. We have a lot of different areas in Nanaimo. So you have the University District, which would be the most affordable area and probably the best long-term investment area. So anywhere there from $550,000 and up. If you come to the north end of Nanaimo, you could be spending up to $900,000. But once you get up to that price point, you're really looking at some quite beautiful homes that are, built on mountainous terrain, with great views, ocean or mountain views. So some of the seaside community areas are very nice, right? You're paying a little more for that.
Yeah, $900,000 for a seaside. That's not bad. I wouldn't complain about that. So you mentioned that the university district that you mentioned there has a good investment potential. So we talked a little bit before coming on today about the fact that you're seeing, again, people, a lot of the people who are buying quote unquote investments are investing in land and are investing in detached homes and doing what we just talked about, which is renting, a house in the top and the bottom. So are you seeing these people rent out to students, or is this more of a long-term rental, or what's the common type of theme that you see on the island there and where you're living?
Yeah, it's a little bit mixed depending on the area again. So yeah, when you're in the university district, which they've kind of rezoned, not rezoned, but they've renamed that the university district. It used to be called an area called Harewood. So there's been some regentrification there, in the last 10 years. And Vancouver Island University is growing quite substantially every year. They're adding buildings, they're adding new programs. So we have a lot of people coming over to go to university there. So we definitely see a lot of people renting to students in that area. I mean, I have seen units that have been broken down into multiple rooms where I'm sure they're making a lot more than that amount per month. So there's definitely a lot of cases like that. As you go into more central Nanaimo and up into North Nanaimo, it's more like family rentals, I would say. But there is quite a bit of those as well. So it's pretty mixed, but definitely, if I was to put my money somewhere long-term, it'd probably be in that university district at this time.
Okay. And is that in part because of, like you mentioned before, the densification of that area, and that we are seeing more of that, I guess, people coming and moving in and looking to live close to there? Or is it more to do with the students? Like, what would be the reason that you would look towards that as an investment potential?
I think a lot of the homes in the north end have capped out a little bit more as far as price point. Nanaimo is still a bit of a blue collar city, so people don't have millions and millions of dollars to spend on homes. So, I mean, there is a luxury market here for sure. I would say anytime you're looking at a waterfront home, you're looking at like 1.3 million and up from that mark. But, the sky's the limit. We have homes that are, up to $10 million here as well. So, yeah, I would say your average family is going to go to that university district just because of the growth there right now. There's a lot of development in that area. And if I was to put my money somewhere, that's definitely where it would be.
So a little bit more turnover, more potential. You're going to see a lot more change in the next few years, and people are moving to this area. We talked again off air a little bit about what type of cash flow that people are seeing when they're investing in these single family detached homes. And you had mentioned the land value with the potential appreciation in these areas for people coming over, which makes sense. But again, kind of going back to that scenario where someone is buying a property with a suite and they're paying that 580 or so. $1,800 is a mortgage payment. Average property taxes there is what, $400 a month, I believe you said, maybe a little less.
Roughly, yeah, give or take. It depends on the area again, right? It fluctuates quite substantially, from south to north.
Right. So easily someone with, 120,000 into the property is cash flowing day one at, 800 less any property expenses. So that's pretty good, especially relative to what we would consider, a Vancouver. A lot of people typically look at, Vancouver real estate and so forth as a good investment because of the appreciation. It's interesting. Now, kind of looking at the statistics there on the island, you guys had a boom maybe about a year or 2 years ago when there were a lot of people were moving out of the city. Last year you mentioned was a little bit of a down year, like it was, I think, pretty much everywhere in British Columbia, or at least a lot of the main cities kind of saw it as a down year. And we had talked about the fact that pre-COVID things were starting to take off again. What are you seeing now? So you mentioned a lot of the trends are families moving up for more space and location. But we talked a little bit about developers and building and what that looks like right now from a investment standpoint. You work with a few developers. What are you seeing they're taking advantage of on the island?
Pretty much the same thing. Most of the developers I see building homes here are building homes with suites. It's quite common. We do see them building some without suites, but developers I'm working with right now, they're doing a lot more in the north end here, which those homes would be roughly around 800,000 with a suite, but they're in beautiful areas with some of the nicest parks, Nanaimo has to offer. So they're pretty great. They definitely take advantage. The market's pretty hot right now. The vacancy rate is about 2% here right now. So anybody that's looking to buy an investment, they know they're going to be able to rent those out very quickly.
So going back to that building component, we talked a little bit about coach homes. There's an area in Surrey that back, I'd say, what was it, 10 years ago right now, in Clayton Heights, if anybody's listening knows about this, where you could buy a detached home with a 2-bedroom basement suite with a beautiful 1-bedroom coach home for less than $500,000. And it sounds, based on our conversation right now, that in Nanaimo, maybe not for 500,000, but there's a lot of potential right now, and the city is allowing zoning for this type of a situation. It's sweet. Where are you seeing that happen more frequently? Are you seeing builders gravitate towards that? What type of clientele or situation are you seeing that be the opportunity over in Nanaimo right now?
Yeah, I don't see developers gravitating that way as much with the carriage homes as they should. Actually, one unique thing we're seeing here that we didn't really touch on, they're allowing a lot. The city of Nanaimo in the south end is allowing a lot of rezoning here with duplex zoning. So basically, builders, the way they're taking advantage of that now is they're able to build 2 detached homes on one lot, and they're calling them like detached duplexes. So we're seeing a lot of builders do that right now because they have potential to build 2 homes on one lot. There's quite a substantial turnover on the money for them. So that's one thing that's happening in the south end quite a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's always something that we look out for in cities that are looking to densify, like Vancouver obviously is allowing more and more and more row homes and duplexes and things of that nature. It's a good sign, obviously, for the city to be able to allow that. Obviously, a good profit for the developers who are building that, but also great rent for someone who's able to get in, build, and own that piece of real estate there. So let's talk a little bit about, I guess, where Nanaimo is at today relative to 4 years ago as far as industry. You mentioned it's a blue collar industry, but you've seen a shift and a change. What does the dynamic look like right now between the young and the old, and people that are working and people that are moving there? Because I can't imagine, it must be just a really interesting time right now with so much migration happening.
Yeah, it's quite different. Like in the last 2 months, we've had quite a few calls with people that are looking to move over because now they're deciding to work from home. So I think we're going to see a big shift with people that weren't able to move over here originally because they weren't sure that what they were going to do for work. We've had a bit of changes in the industry. Nanaimo has always been known as like a mill town or a logging town by that means, but a lot of the people I know working in that industry are out of work or not having as much work as they used to have. So we're definitely seeing a shift. So I think a lot of people that want to work for more of these techie companies that can work from home are now thinking about moving here and, owning a chunk of land rather than owning a condo.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So you mentioned it was or it has been traditionally, Nanaimo and surrounding areas have been retirement plans and retirement homes. Is that something that you're still seeing a lot of right now, or have you seen a little bit more of a generational shift? If not, where are these people going if they're leaving Nanaimo?
Well, I would say there's still a lot of people moving over for retirement. What we're seeing happen more often now is people buying earlier and renting it out for a couple of years because we've seen such a climb in our prices in the market here. People want to get in while they still can. Even my mom, she actually recently bought a retirement home out here and they're not living there yet. They're renting it out for now because the prices are climbing so much. You used to be able to buy, 10 years ago, you could buy waterfront for $600,000, right? But now, you're looking at 1.3. So they just decided to buy sooner rather than later. But yeah, we're seeing a lot of that.
Awesome. Yeah, I know. And I think, like, again, kind of going back to investments here, we're talking about a whole broad spectrum of things, right? Everything from, university district and what the potential could be in an area like that, what the what the dynamic of the area is. And obviously what types of situations people are coming into when they're moving over to the island. That one that you just touched on there, the idea of moving over and buying a property as an investment for a long-term retirement planning situation. That's really interesting to me because I've been talking to a lot of clients right now that are as young as maybe in their early 40s and even late 30s that know they're probably not likely to retire for 10 or 15 years. And they're starting to ask me these questions like, hey, what would it look like? Can I buy a property in the Okanagan, or can I buy a property on the island or in the interior or otherwise? And what does that look like from an investment potential? And I think that's a phenomenal idea, especially, in a situation where, someone is a future value, but they want to build up that equity and that cash reserve day one. It doesn't make sense not to, almost, in this case. So again, kind of going back in that point, you mentioned before that your mom just did that and you're seeing a lot of other people do that. What are your recommendations? Where should people be looking at? What type of investment should they be considering if they are eventually making that move, whether it's 1 year, 5 years, or 10 years down the road?
Yeah, I think if they're looking to, buy more of a retirement place, which might be in some different communities just outside of Nanaimo, not everybody that I see retiring goes right directly into Nanaimo. We see, some of the communities just north of here, Parksville, we see a lot of people retiring there, Nanaimo Bay as well, and Qualicum Beach. So those are kind of the northern communities of Nanaimo that a lot of people are retiring in. So they definitely have very low vacancy rates there as well. So buying there and just renting out the whole home is definitely an option. You will see less suites, so you might not cash flow quite as well. But I definitely think you could at least break even in most cases. So, no matter where you're moving, you're probably going to have a good chance of being able to, cash flow before, or at least before break even, right? So.
Yeah. So recently I was, or I shouldn't say I was, but it's been in more of the talks in Vancouver about investing on the island, different locations and so forth. One of the ones that's come up quite a bit is actually not in Nanaimo. It's outside of Victoria. It's called Langford. We briefly touched on this before, and I know that's not necessarily an area that you sell. They mentioned Langford because it's almost like a quote unquote suburb of Victoria. It's a government town. There's a lot of benefits of looking in these types of areas. But I've also heard other areas, outside and around Nanaimo, such as, Cumberland and a lot of these other little towns and so forth. So what is, like, I guess if someone's coming over there and they're looking at from a perspective of cash flow, appreciation, and obviously just what is the long-term outlook for these areas, is there something that you'd suggest them to look for in and around the Nanaimo area as why that might be a good fit? Or do you think they should actually consider somewhere south, closer to Victoria, just in terms of long-term value and appreciation? What would we look for there?
Myself, I would say you're probably going to do best in Nanaimo just because of the vacancy rate here and the price point. Somewhere like Langford, I know the prices are still substantially higher, but it is a growing community. We also have areas like Duncan that are kind of that's south of Nanaimo, just basically right between Victoria and Nanaimo, where a lot of people are starting to invest there. The benchmark, I believe, there is now in the low 500,000. So that's a great place to invest still as well if you're looking at properties with suites. So there's quite a bit of potential all the way across central Vancouver Island.
So really, it's kind of wide open, and there's going to be a lot of factors. It sounds like, based on our chats and what I've seen lately, that a lot of these cities are ripe for a lot of change, and like we mentioned, so much migration going on at this point right now. So if someone comes over to Nanaimo, they're bringing a young family, or they're thinking about bringing a young family in the future, and this is an investment conversation. This is just a moving conversation. What are they like? What do people do there? It's just full honesty. Like, what are people doing in Nanaimo for fun, for leisure? What does the city makeup look like?
Well, there is a lot of beautiful locations here. We've barely scratched the surface in the 3 years we've been here so far. So it's, I've spent a lot of time as a kid coming up here, and I've explored a little more than most people that just moved here. But it's honestly unlimited. There's so many lakes, rivers, beaches to explore. Like, the island it's basically never ending. You can be surfing one day and snowboarding the next day up at Mount Washington, or 2-hour drive to Tofino from here. It's almost never ending. There's tons of great camping. There's also a lot of great schools within the Nanaimo district here. So, there's not that much negative to say. There's quite a different variety of properties here, anywhere from like waterfront luxury to acreage to condos. There's just a lot of unique properties that are quite different. So I would say sorry, go ahead.
No, that's okay. Do you continue to see the trend of people moving over more from a lifestyle or investment, or a combination of the both continuing, or what does the prospects look like in the area?
I see it continuing the same. I do see like a lot of young families still coming over because the price point is much better. With all the development that's happening here now, I do see a lot more investment starting to take place here. To give you an example, our team here is probably averaging 30 to 50 leads a day on our website this month. So that's just internet people connecting with us and asking about real estate. So the projections we see are quite substantial for the future at this point.
And you said that your team of 6 agents at this point has sold 230 homes this year, and that doesn't even include probably a very slow April, I guess, eh?
So last year our team sold, sorry to touch on that. Our team, I think it was around 230 homes with 6 agents. This year our team has grown. I think we're around 10 agents now, and we're right around that mark at this point in the year.
Unreal. So definitely a place to look out for on the Nanaimo. And obviously, we've only just scratched the surface in our conversation because we kind of all across the board from, this university district to waterfront homes to, buying properties with suites and developing and so forth. Matt, what if one person, if someone was coming over and they had just a day to kind of look at the area, the Nanaimo area and surrounding areas, what would be the key places that you would take them to or neighborhoods and they should look out for today?
Yeah, some of my favorite neighborhoods. We actually ourselves live in Hammond Bay. We really like it. It's kind of in the north end of Nanaimo here, and it's close to the ocean and close to lots of great parks. Like Next Point would be one good park I would check out. Also checking out Nanaimo River. It's absolutely incredible. Our family spent a couple hours there yesterday. It's just unbelievable. Some of these swimming holes you would never even believe when you see them. So I think, yeah, there's such a variety in a day. You can barely scratch the surface, but I think I would show people some of the neighborhoods like Departure Bay, Hammond Bay, North Nanaimo, University District. If you can kind of get through those areas, you'll kind of have an idea how the layout of the city works.
Very cool. Very cool. And for anybody who's thinking about making the move over and actually making that migration move, just I want to speak from personal experience with some clients that we've seen get creative. I mean, we see people in Surrey and Langley and so forth that have equity of $350,000 to $400,000. I had a customer of mine in March just before COVID hit. He purchased 2 properties for just over $1 million. So it was, I believe, a combined $1.3 million. The rent between his suite on his primary residence that he's living in and the 2 units that he bought on the other property is not only just covering his mortgage and his property taxes, but he's actually additionally cash flowing, whereas he was spending, a mortgage payment of over $2,000 a month here. It's a different lifestyle, obviously a different situation, and the appreciation might be different on those properties. But the fact that he invested in land seems to bode good for some of that nature. So that's just kind of some of the potential we see. Just to kind of close things out, Matt, what kind of I guess kind of looking forward, what does the future look of? I know you kind of touched on this before, but do we anticipate that the appreciation in Nanaimo will continue to grow, or do you think that might spread out to other areas of the island?
I think it already is spreading out to other parts of the island. We're seeing areas like Port Alberni, which is kind of between Tofino and here, has really taken off in the last couple of years. It used to be very affordable, and now the benchmark price, I'm not exactly sure on the exact number, but it's around, I think, $300,000-$400,000 now, where it used to be like almost $200,000 for a detached home. So it is already spreading out as things become less affordable. I guess if you're from Vancouver, $581 for a detached home seems very affordable, but things have shifted. In 2015, the benchmark for a single family home here was about $356,000. So the market's changed quite a bit in the last 5 years here. So yeah. I would continue. I think we'll continue to see, substantial appreciation.
Very cool. Very cool. So, hey guys, if you're listening to this podcast, I think what we're trying to share is really a spotlight and overview of the Nanaimo area. Matt's someone that we trust very highly. You've done fantastic work with everyone that we've recommended with or worked together on. I suggest give it a shot, whether you're looking at purchasing that first investment or purchasing that retirement home or long-term, or you just want to find a little bit more space for your family. So definitely worth checking out. Matt, any parting words that you'd want to share about the city that we didn't highlight with you today?
I think we touched on most of it. I think you just need to get down here and explore it yourself and check out some of the neighborhoods. It's basically never ending. I'm learning new things about the island every day still, and I think that will continue to happen for a long time.
Awesome, buddy. Hey, listen, definitely going to recommend you guys check out Matt. We'll put all of his contact information in the podcast notes, on the YouTube channel, all that kind of fun stuff. Matt Baynton, thank you so much for spending your morning with us today. Have an amazing day, my friend, and we'll talk very soon.
Sounds good. Thanks, Alex. I appreciate you bringing me on the show.